Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into the if function. If you're looking for something a little bit snappier and quicker, make sure you look at my in a nutshell video on the same topic. The basic principle of an if function is you set up a rule to tell Excel to look for a certain parameter that you're setting and then return a value whether that parameter is true or whether it's false. And the quickest and most simple way to explain this is using numbers. So we're going to start out in a spreadsheet here. I've got a list of animals, I've got their ages, and I've got if they're friendly or not. And what I want to do is I want to take a look at their age via an if function, and I want to put them into two buckets. I want to say they're either really old or young based on a rule that I make up. So to start an if function, you're going to go into the cell that you want it to appear in, and you're going to go ahead and type equals if, and then open up your parentheses. And when you do that, you're going to see, as always, Excel prompts you with what information it's going to want. For this, you can see that it's the logical test. It names the first parameter, the value of true, and the value of false. So first off, the logical test, essentially that's you setting the rule that you want Excel to look for. So in this example, let's say that anything older than 5 years old is going to be labeled as, we'll say really old. And then anything younger than 5 years old, we're going to say is young. So to do this, we want Excel to look at B2, right? Because that's age, so I can just click it or I could type it. If I click it, it automatically populates B2. If I were to just type out the cell, you can see that Excel automatically knows what I'm talking about. And like I said earlier, we want to see if it's older than or less than 5 years old is the rule that we're putting in place. So one of the basic ways that you can use an if function is using either the greater than or the less than symbol based on what you need it to do. So in this example, I want to see if B2 is greater than 5. So that's my basic test that I've set up here. And once I'm finished with it, I want to put a comma to tell Excel that I'm done writing the rule, and then I want to start to tell Excel what to happen if the rule is met and what to happen if the rule is not met. So it's a little bit straightforward, a little bit obvious, but the first thing that Excel asks for, the second thing I should say, is value if true. And this is saying, what do you want me to shoot out if that rule is met, if B2 is indeed larger than 5. So I'm going to go ahead and say, I want Excel to shoot out really old if B2 is greater than 5. And I want you to note that I put words in parentheses, or in quotations, I mean. And you should do this every time that you want Excel to shoot out a value that is a word and not a number. Just make sure to put it in quotes and that will work properly. I'm going to do a comma to move to value if false. And then very similarly, I'm going to say this is young. I'm going to end the quotes, and then I'm going to also put a parentheses to tell Excel that I'm done with the function. I'm going to go ahead and click enter, and you can see that Excel has returned the value this is young because it is seeing the rule that we wrote down, is B2 greater than 5. The answer for that is false, right? It's not true, so it's going to return the value that I put into the value if false category. Now, if you have a rule like this written on your sheet and you want it to apply to every single age, not just obviously this top one, you can take the bottom right corner of your cell and drag it down, and you can see that the if function that we just wrote will update based on the age that's in the respective cell, right? And if we click on each one, you can actually see what Excel is seeing that's changing every time it moves down. So right here, Excel is looking for B2 greater than 5. But if we click one below it, you'll see that Excel automatically updated that to B3 being greater than 5, which of course is the difference between this cow's age and then this pig's age. I'm going to skip down a few, and you can see that it's updated to B9. So that's what's happening behind the scenes and why Excel is smart enough, essentially, to give you the value based on what you want. So we deleted all of the values that we just had, because I wanted to show you some different ways that you can use an if function. If I go ahead and type equals if, open the parentheses, we know that we can use the greater than sign. Similarly, we can of course use the less than sign the same way. I've gone in here and I've typed it out pretty similar to how we had it before, and I'll drag down my formula. But you can see that we hit a little bit of a snag when we get to the age being exactly 5, right? Because it's really not greater than or equal to, so maybe saying old isn't exactly what we want it to. You can go into your function and you can type an equal sign after either the less than or the greater than symbol, and that tells Excel, in this example, if B7 is greater than or equal to 5, go and type these two things. We can also go into our cell and type just equals to if maybe we want to know, more of a specific thing and not just a range. So we'll say is 5 years old versus is not 5 years old. And again, I want to emphasize that we did B2 equals 5. We didn't do greater than or less than or anything like that. Oops, I put olds. We'll just fix that super quick. And then we can drag this down the same way, and it's been labeled as either it is 5 years old or it is not 5 years old. The equal sign is pretty obvious, but what a lot of people don't know when you're using the if function is what do you put if you want to say something is not equal to. So I'm going to write if B2 does not equal, you actually do the great or less than sign and then the greater than sign together. And those two items together, Excel reads as not equals to. So in this example, I'm going to say, let's just say 5 again. So is B2 not equal to 5? I want Excel to say, yes, not 5. Or if it's false and it is indeed equal to 5, we'll say, this is 5. I'm going to drag it down because you can see that Excel is saying, hey, this 2 right here is not 5. But when it hits the 5 digit, it's going to label it as 5 because it is a false parameter on the test of, is this not equal to 5? Thus far in this video, I've talked about pretty much just numbers surrounding the logical test. But an if function is not just limited to numbers. I could also type if, and I'm going to go ahead and put A2, and in this example, I want to see if it's a cow. And like always, if I'm looking at words, I want to make sure that I put it in quotes, and then I'm going to just put a true and a false rule in with it. I'll say this is a cow, and not a cow if it's false. You can see that Excel is now looking for words, not a number. I'm going to go back to the top one that I just did here. And we went through the logical tests, and we said that this can either be numbers or a word that Excel can look for. But we have the other two tests, the value if true and the value if false. And thus far in the video, I've just given you examples of different words that Excel can say if it's true or false. But these don't need to be limited to text necessarily. I could go ahead and say if A2 is a cow, I don't know why I would do this, but you could say take the age plus, we'll say 7, because we're gonna, we'll multiply. We'll say times 7, because I want to get the age in cow years, we'll say, which is apparently 7. And then I'm going to switch it to the value if false. And what do I want Excel to return if it's false? Now I could write down anything. I could do a word. I could say times 6. But in this example, we'll just say that every other animal just goes off of normal human years. So I'm going to say just return what V2 says if it's false. You don't need to take it times 7. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And you can see that right here, Excel, because this is saying cow, is taking B2 and it's multiplying it by 7. And just to prove my point, I can drag this down here, and you'll see that for the pig, it's not multiplying it, it's just returning what B3 is. Same with the hamster, and so on and so forth. But then when we get to cow again here, it's taking 25 times 7 to give us a value of 175. Now that might seem like a silly example, but I've seen spreadsheets before at companies where they have, an if function that gives you logic based on if a coupon was used in a purchase, right? And if that is a yes, it will take that and put the logic on top of it and say, okay, take the original value times 95% to give that 5% discount.
Thanks for watching. Let me know if there are any questions in the comments below, and make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks again.